Okay, so everything looks.
Okay, good morning and welcome. So little tech problems there, but that's okay. She's working to get that going. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Irby, and I'm the director at the Center for Women Entrepreneur. Nice to see so many familiar faces and new faces in here today. So welcome, everybody. I want to introduce our staff to you. So online, we have Kimberly Nielsen. She is our Zoom hostess. Wave, Kimberly. There she is. Okay, good. I was like, I hope she can hear me. So we know she can. Over here is Donalisa Stinyard. She is our program director. Also online, we have Barbara Renke, and she is monitoring Facebook and social media online to get questions, if there are any questions or anything out there. So for those of you who are here for the first time, the Center for Women Entrepreneurs was funded in 2015 by the state legislature just to help promote women entrepreneurs anywhere in the state of Texas. And they thought, what better place to put it than at Texas Women's University? But you don't have to be affiliated with TWU to take advantage of all the services that we offer. And we do provide small business advising, networking, training events like this. We have many different grant programs. We're going to start free QuickBooks classes later this year, maybe next year. So we have a lot of new and exciting things always coming up. So we're glad. And of course, all of those are free to you. So we're glad all of you are here. We are part of the larger Jane Nelson Institute for Women's Leadership. So if you have a chance, you can even walk up and down here. We have a beautiful exhibit hall for women in politics and public policy. Again, we're the part of the larger Jane Nelson Institute for Women's Leadership at Texas Women's University. And we're dedicated to preparing more women to take on successful roles in business and public service. There are 3 centers here. Our center, the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy, and the Center for Student Leadership. Our 3 centers provide women with the education to establish executive level careers, the skills for building entrepreneurial businesses, and the framework needed to run for public office. Feel free, if any of those are of interest to, great training throughout the Jane Nelson Institute. So we've introduced our staff. Now we'd like to know who everyone is here. We'll just go through quickly and you can say who you are. And those of you that are online, if you want to introduce yourselves online, your name and business for us to see here as well. So Jen, what if I start with you?
Just our name and what we do?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Jen Adame, and I am a talent manager for a puppet company.
Good morning. My name is Cindy. I own CM Promotions. We are a wedding and event planning company throughout DFW, and I'm excited to be here. I'm Heather Walker, excuse me, and I do professional teeth whitening. I've been a dental assistant for a long time and opened my own private boutique here on the square. Pamela Temple, I don't have a business yet, but have lots of ideas. So wonderful. Awesome. Cool.
I'm Shakika Owen. I'm the owner of Abundance of Hope Counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor. My niche is focusing on trauma, obesity, and bariatric surgery, the counseling aspect of it. I'm Cynthia Thomas, and I am an independent facilitator for Love and Logic. Independent, not employed by Love and Logic, love them, and I love their program. My background is educator, licensed social worker, and I love working with parents. So I'm looking forward to doing that, continuing to work with parents. the level logic way.
I'm a firm believer in that. Hi, I'm Sheila Bustillos. I run a statewide nonprofit, Education Reach for Texans. We champion post-secondary education success for people with experience in foster care. Happy to be with you guys in person this morning. I'm Caitlin Robertson. I'm the CEO of a biotech company called Therapeutics, and we're proud to be bringing part of the biotech community that's emerging in Dallas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabby Horrigal-Olanaka. I am the coordinator of the Student Money Management Center here at Texas Women's University.
My name is Sophia Runny, and I'm here with my mom.
You're soon to be graduated.
Yes.
My name is Michelle Holloway, and I keep seniors safe and independent. I'm an occupational therapist that goes to their home.
Hi, my name is Akari Legan. I'm a student at Texas University. I'm a computer science major with entrepreneurship.
Marge Atkinson with Ask Marge. I am a research coach for grad students and also a fact checker for authors.
Good morning, I'm Lawrence Whaley. I have the good fortune of being a business partner of our presenter this morning. We focus on protecting families and businesses so that everything is taken care of.
My name is Samantha Cutler. I'm the owner operator of Heavenly Tailored Sweets, the custom bakery here in town. We do custom cakes, cupcakes, cookies, pies, and rolls. It goes in the oven. Probably made it. And we're helping you have a sweet life. Again, Samantha with Heavenly Tailored.
Great, what a great, and it's great to see all the different occupations, businesses people have in here. I mean, you got a lot of oohs and ahs in your.
Well, yeah, I mean, people probably don't know.
No. So welcome, all of you. Now I am really pleased to introduce our speaker for today, and Salick, and works with business owners and their executives and families to help them take positive financial action in their lives. She advises how to manage and minimize risk while providing greater opportunities for financial freedom and peace of mind. She is the CFA Certified Exit Planning Advisor to assist small to medium businesses in their exit and succession planning needs. She is also a CPFA Certified Plan Fiduciary Advisor to help business owners set up and manage retirement funds, and has been selected 5 times in the Texas Monthly Magazine 5-Star Wealth Managers for 2015, 17 through 19, and 2022. I'm so excited to introduce her.
Thank you, everyone. It's really exciting to be here, and especially talking to budding women entrepreneurs as well as established women entrepreneurs. Like she said, my name is Ann Salick. I am with the firm Adaptation Financial Advisors. So we are a firm of independent financial advisors and agents. So I am a women business owner exactly like the rest of you are. You know, I don't have a boss, and all of my decisions, all of succession planning, all of the things that you all need to worry about, I need to worry about as well. So my heart is with you all. So for today's topic, oh, and before I forget it, you know, at the end of today's presentation, I actually have 2 books for a door prize. Hopefully everybody gave their business card or put their name in the basket at the front, and we'll be drawing for these books at the end of the presentation as well. So be sure and get your names in there. Okay. How do I go forward? Is it not just the arrow?
Should be, but you might have to point it. It's one of those mornings, guys.
But while she's trying to get that up for me, basically everybody, you may think, well, why am I worried about succession planning? Because basically everybody at some point in their life is going to exit their business. So whether you do that voluntarily or involuntarily, you know, the true test of a lot of businesses was recently during a pandemic. And you had to be able to either pivot very quickly in terms of your business model, or, you know, in many cases, many customers or many business owners were forced to sell their business. Hopefully they were in a position that they were able to do that. We saw a lot of businesses shut down. All right, let me get it. So statistics show that only 20 to 30% of all businesses that actually go to market actually get sold. So that leaves up to 80% of all businesses that go to market. They don't have the opportunity then to be able to take the money out of their business, harvest that wealth, ensure the economic continuity of their lives and of their families. Because most business owners that we've seen, about 90 to 95% of their entire wealth portfolio for their lives is involved in their business. And they're like, I'm building this business so that I can have that big paycheck at the end when I sell my business, hopefully to somebody else, or when I pass along my business to the next generation. And that brings up, you know, basically succession planning is made up of either transition planning or exit planning. You're either going to, well, one way or another, exit your business, but you want to be sure that it transitions to the next generation, to the next owner very smoothly at the highest value that you can get from it at that point in time. So exit planning is basically, or succession planning is basically, how do you transition that leadership and that ownership, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, to the next generation, to the next layer of management, whatever it is. So there's triggers to what we're looking at in succession planning. And they are a lot of times why you want to do it, as well as when you're going to do it. For the involuntary, these are the ones that are the gotchas that you need to worry about, is what happens if I'm not there to turn the key in the door the next day in my business? What's going to happen to my business? And that could be through death or disability, that you find yourself at that point where it's like, my business isn't prepared. I don't have a business continuity plan. I can't sell my business. It's not ready. Or if in case of death, who's it going to go to? If you're married, it's probably going to go to your spouse in a community property state, such as we are in. So are they prepared to take over your business? Or do you have a partner? Do you have a buy-sell agreement in place such that when one of these triggers happens, that buy-sell agreement is triggered and you have a plan for it to go smoothly? And that buy-sell is also funded so that your heirs have the money in case of death to be able to, be able to take, or your partner has the money in case of death to be able to buy out your heirs from the business. In the case of disability, do you have some kind of disability buyout insurance so that your partner can buy you out? There's a lot of things that you do to fund a buy-sell agreement. Those are the things you need to worry about. Do you have clauses in place if you are married such that you get divorced? Again, we're in a community property state. What's going to happen to that half of your business? Are you funded well enough to be able to buy out those shares of your business that person is otherwise entitled to? A lot of times there's disagreements. If you're in a partnership, there's disagreements. How do you handle what you're going to do with the business in that case? And some businesses just go into debt and aren't able to emerge from under that debt load. So preparing for all of those involuntary triggers is really, really important. Now, the voluntary ones are the ones that you want to plan out, you want to look forward to. You know, a lot of times it's retirement, or maybe somebody comes to you with an offer you feel like you can't refuse, but then you're like, is my business really worth that much? Or, oh, I feel my business is worth much more than that. You've got to know when somebody comes to you and with an offer, and they're going to go back and do their due diligence too. You don't want them to find any surprises. You want to know about all the surprises up front and be able to take care of them. You know, and, you know, a lot of people are serial entrepreneurs. You might want to sell a piece or all of your business to start something new. How are you going to prepare for that? And the other way, the other thing to think about in terms of what is succession planning is, to whom do you want your business to go to? You know, there's basically two ways. It can either go to an insider, so it can go to your partner if you're in a partnership. It can go to your spouse, even though they may not be in a partnership yet. It could go to your heirs, or maybe you want to start grooming somebody from within to take over your business. Or maybe the whole management layer in terms of a management buyout. So there's lots of ways that you can transition your business, and lots of people that you can transition it to. So succession planning really is a holistic approach to trying to create the highest value transition that you can get for your business. So what you're going to need in order to do that is start master planning. That maximizes the value of your business. So you're looking from the inside out to look at, how ready am I to sell my business or transition my business? But what is the value of my business? Do you have a business valuation? And you want to ensure that you have done the work, you have put in the work to increase the value of your business to the highest multiple that you can get at that point in time, because you want to maximize those net proceeds. And you also want to be sure that you have a plan for what you want to do next. So we call this the three legs of the stool. You want to maximize your transferable business value, but you've got to prepare financially for what you're going to do next. And be sure that you know that you have the finances available to be able to support the lifestyle that you want. You want to personally plan for what you're going to do, because so many times, Lawrence and I have seen that people get to the table to sign and sell their business, and then they think about, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Jan and I were just talking about, you have to have a purpose. And this is one of those things that a lot of business owners, their business is their purpose. They have put their whole lives and their identity into their business. So you want to be sure that you're planning ahead and planning for, there will be a time in the future where my business is not my identity. What am I going to do with my life? Now, you may be preparing for that, or that may be part of your life already. If you're very involved in very philanthropic efforts or support of, usually it's in giving to others that people find a lot of purpose. For some people, it could be just sailing around the world all by themselves. That's their purpose. But whatever it is, you need to define that so you can have a healthy transition. Going back to succession planning is master planning. What that means basically is you have to take a look at and assess where you are personally, with your personal plan, your financial plan, your family plan, as well as a lot of you as business owners have probably been very, very focused on your business planning. Probably everybody has been putting in time to have that business plan where they have a strategic plan in place for, what am I going to do with my company? What are the markets I'm getting into? Where are we going to be in 3 to 5 years? So probably put a lot of focus on strategic planning. if you've got a really good CPA or you're a really good CFO, you've probably been doing a lot of tax planning. But have you been really looking at the value planning as well? Because as a business, whatever industry you're in, a business is going to be either at the low end or the high end of what's called a multiple. This is taking your EBITDA, applying it towards some multiple based on your industry and how valuable your company looks to other people outside of your industry. And that's going to give you pretty much a good view of what your value is going to be. How do any of y'all even know what your multiple is yet, unless you've been doing this actual value planning and taking a look at, well, you know, I know that my company is deficient in this area, but I'll take care of that in the future, because you're just busy, you know, reinvesting all of your earnings, possibly looking at what your margins are, getting that profit as high as it can be, but other things are going wrong in another piece of your business. That's going to, you know, and it could be in your personnel, it could be in overemphasizing one customer and being too customer dependent on that one customer. There's a lot of things that can happen, and we'll talk about some of those in a minute. So a big part of that needs to be building your value plan. You know, coming up here, we want to do some assessments. And this is as a SEBA through the Exit Planning Institute. We have a lot of different assessments, both for the personal, the financial, and the business. On the business side, how ready is your business to sell? How attractive is your business? Those are two different assessments. On the personal and family side, it's going to look at what is your wealth gap? Do you have a wealth management plan? You know, at some point in time, you'll have an estate plan too. This is taking a look at what are you going to do with all of your assets at the end of your life and creating that kind of a plan. Until then, at this point in time and today, these are the kind of plans that you need in order to, as well as a tax plan, both not only for your business, but for yourself. How are you going to minimize taxes? What are the most tax efficient ways you can be invested? As well as, and was it Sheila?
Yeah.
You probably like this. Everyone needs a philanthropic plan. You know, what are you doing to look at and give to others? You know, for a lot of people, your charity begins at home. So that's probably something that you're going to do first, is make sure your family's taken care of. But when you're looking outside at the longer term, and a lot of times a business makes this possible, to be able to look at what are you doing on the philanthropic side of your life as well and giving to others. So how all of this comes about, of course, you all know that you have to have goals in place in order to, you know, fully structure these different plans. So those are the things in terms of where are you putting your labor, your influence, your finances, your expertise in terms of all of these goals. And then that helps drive these plans as well. And then finally, on the business succession side, we'll talk about what goes into a good business succession plan. But again, that's going to be increasing the value of your business so you can get the highest multiple whenever it comes time for you to transition, as well as, you know, if you are, this isn't something you need now, but if you are going to sell, you're going to need some kind of mergers and acquisitions transition plan. Now, a lot of this applies also if you're in a business where you want to acquire another business instead of selling your own business. The same things that go into evaluating, is your company really ready to move on, you know, and transition from you? is how you'll evaluate any other business that you want to acquire as well. So I just want to make note, this works both ways. And all plans include risk mitigation and contingency plans. This is a really, really important piece of what you're doing and can add value immediately. And we'll get into what some of the risks are in the next slide. But in order to create all of these different plans, you have to go through a process. This is based on, from the EPI, we have the value acceleration methodology. That's what this is based on. So basically, it's doing the assessments up front, evaluating your life, your legacy, your finances, your business. Where are you at today? And then create out of that, out of those assessments, we'll drop out, okay, these are my highest areas of risk. These are the areas where I can realize the most increase in value in my business. These are the areas that might require the least capital, but where I can make the most impact. All of those things will be discerned through some evaluations up front. And then after that, after you get this long list of, all right, this is everything I want to look at in my business, and this is done annually, then I'm going to create 90-day action plans to start working on that. And you prioritize it, and in 2 slides, I'll show you how you prioritize. But out of that, you create, what can I do in the next 90 days that's going to have the most impact on my business? And you keep reiterating through those 90-day plans. Now, if you're actually looking at, do I want to exit my business? This ready point here is where you evaluate, am I ready to sell my business? And it's going to be yes or no. If it's no, you come back and you start with the next 90-day plan and the next 90-day plan until you feel like you're ready to exit your business. But the thing is, this doesn't have to necessarily be used just to exit your business. This is just good business planning for life. For as long as your business goes on. And we've found many, many business owners, once they started doing this within their business, they discovered things about their business that they enjoyed. Their business became more profitable, and they stayed in the business a lot longer too, because it wasn't such of a drudge and there was a structure to everything that was creating value. And that was exciting. So if you are ready to exit your business, then you have to take a look at, transferring the ownership. Are you transferring all of it or only a portion of it? Because private equity could be something that you want to take a look at, once you get to a certain size, bringing in some outside capital to help you maybe expand in a new market or to keep going and growing. Something like that. We have actually, Lawrence and I met with a client of ours just last week who is really, really excited about private equity coming in to his, of all things, who knew the piano industry was so lucrative. But there's so much opportunity that he has grown so much that private equity, and he's a numbers guy, so he has all of this down and he's been doing this for a long time. He just wants to slow down. And the way he's going to slow down is bringing in private equity to come in, take over a portion of his business, help him with it a little bit so he can slow down a little bit, even though he wants to stay in the business. So, he's been doing this for a long time, but you transfer the ownership, all or a portion of it, as well as getting your wealth out of the business. So there's various ways that you can get your wealth out of the business. Lawrence and I, would be happy to talk to anybody about how to do that. One of the things though, and I really like this, Chris Mercer, and I forget what book he wrote, but basically it's, I think it's the 1% solution, but you as a business owner, most people come to us for wealth management. and I'm just going to make a general statement, on average for fee-based wealth management, it's around 1% that you pay us in terms of helping you grow your assets. Well, you should be looking at your company as the same kind of asset in your portfolio and at least paying yourself into your wealth management plan 1% every year. You know, extracting that out of the business, putting it into something that's going to grow for you for your future. You know, I know everybody's really focused on, you know, I've got to put it in my business, increase profits. I need to buy this, I need to buy that. But it's kind of like tithing. You give to yourself first, you know, before you do anything else. So you know, I think the 1% rule is practical because that's doable for most business owners. You know, setting up, you know, the charitable and the gifts and everything as it comes out to, lo and behold, there's a way that if you want to put your business in trust for a philanthropic, a charitable entity, you can do that. And it gives you a lot of great tax benefits when you sell your business, as well as it goes on and does something good for others. And it also, this is where we come down to, it really helps you minimize taxes. You know, that's the thing. So many business owners, when they go to sell their businesses and they come to us, usually they come after they've sold their business. And that's when we can least help them, you know, from a tax perspective. So if you've got a long runway, you know, whether it's 20 or 30 years or 10 or 15 or 5, we can help you then. But if you've already sold your business, it's harder to help you minimize your taxes. And then you just keep monitoring that over time. But underneath all of this is contingency planning and risk mitigation in everything. You know, that's one of the big things that Lawrence and I do with clients is, you know, you've got to protect what you've already got first before you can grow it. So these are all of the different areas of risk that, well, it's not all of them. This isn't an exhaustive list, but these are all the areas of risk, both in your personal, your financial, and your business arena that you can look at. These risks correlate to different value factors in your business. But under the personal, again, we found that, you know, from a personal standpoint, you've got to protect your business against your death, your disability, if you get divorced. You know, what happens if you're in poor health? A lot of people, now that we're living longer, and this happened just yesterday in a conversation we had, a business was dissolved because the client got Alzheimer's and hadn't sold his business, was still trying to run their business. And what do you think happened? Their key people left and it just dissolved. So you have to think about these things ahead of time. What's going to happen to your business if something happens to your health? Under the financial, there's a lot of different market risks that are happening, you know, to different industries that you need to be aware of. And if this happens, you know, somebody in the energy industry is very dependent on the price of oil. What happens if it bottoms out? You have to have contingency plans. Diversification. Again, this is, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, you know, which is why diversification is key here from a business owner standpoint, that all of your assets aren't in your business. In case something happens to the business, you've still got something outside of that to sustain you, your family, your life. Reining in loans and debt, the economy, earning power, long-term care is a big issue now. Under business, you've got to be very, very careful that from a customer standpoint, you are not customer dependent on, you know, 1 or 2 big clients. What if they go away? What if something happens to their business and they're no longer there? Then that impacts your business. So you really need customer diversification. You know, in the environment, if you're in a business that is, you know, EPA regulated, safety regulated, you need to be very aware of those risks to your business. What can you do to beef up your business so those aren't so impactful on you? Key people is a really good one. If you've got 1 or 2 key people that really are, maybe they're the liaisons to your key customers. So if that key person goes away, that key relationship goes away, what's going to happen to your business? You know, there are lots of ways you can put in long-term incentive plans to keep people, keep them happy. You know, what are they going to do? Those are things that Lawrence and I work with business owners all the time to put in place to make sure that key people are happy and, you know, tied to the business, so to speak. You know, if you're in a, and I think a few of you in here are in businesses that require licenses, you know, that's something that you always need to be aware of, that, you know, if you pass your business on to somebody else and they don't have that license, can it continue? You know, so if you die or are disabled, that's definitely something that you need to be aware of. How is your business going to continue on if it goes to someone who doesn't have those licenses? So, you know, and you can see again, disagreements. This is usually something that happens, you know, when there's a partnership. So you want to always be sure that in your buy, and this is something I'm assuming everybody knows what a buy-sell agreement is, but maybe you don't. But that is basically an agreement. You know, if you have a partnership, it's not the partnership agreement. What it is in a buy-sell agreement is, what are the triggers that would make you or your partner buy or sell the company from each other? You know, and how are you going to deal with those things? It's a legal document. And you've got to have all of these things that we've talked about, whether it's death, divorce, disability. What happens if you just decide that you don't like each other anymore and you don't want to work with each other anymore? That happens. That happens in marriages. That's why divorce is over there too. So those are things that go in that buy-sell agreement. And a good business attorney can help you in terms of putting all of the triggers into that buy-sell agreement. You may think, well, I don't have a partner, so I don't need a buy-sell agreement. You still need something like that. There is a one-way buy-sell agreement for sole proprietors where you think about all these things. And if you need agreements with somebody else outside of your business to take over it, you've got those agreements in place too. So it's not just for partnerships or things like that. So, and then finally, you know, taking a look at, okay, we've talked about a lot of things, you know, that's a lot of planning, a lot of process, a lot of risks. How do you prioritize what you do first? And it's kind of like what I said before, you want to take a look at, you know, what are the key risks, you know, in your items of prioritization that come out of your assessment. You know, you're going to look at what are my priority risks and address those first. What are your key areas of impact that could give you more profit immediately? You know, you want to be able to say, you know, I didn't realize that we were putting so much money into, maybe it's a product line that was sucking up money, but our margins are so much better over here on this product line. We could move all the labor and the effort over to this other product line and be making a lot more money. You know, taking a look at things like that, as well as what are the things that we can do that really don't require a lot of capital. And maybe they have a medium impact, but they don't require a lot of capital, so it's easier to get done. Those are all things you want to prioritize out. But you also want to prioritize based on, you know, foundationally, you want to take a look at the things that, what could happen to my business tomorrow? And those are the things like death, divorce, disability, disagreement. Those are the things that could have an immediate impact tomorrow. So you want to prioritize those first. What am I doing to protect my business against those things? And that's where, like I've kind of drummed on it a little bit, but a buy-sell agreement is really essential. You know, making sure that you have life insurance so that your partner can buy out, you know, maybe your heirs or your spouse if they need to, if you're in a partnership, or life insurance just so that your family, if they're dependent on you being there and providing that income from your business and it's not there anymore, you know, you've got life insurance so your family can sustain after this. Disability insurance is really key. We're working with a promotional marketing company out in Arlington right now where the wife really, you know, it's a partnership between a husband and wife, but the wife really has all of the key customer relationships. She's got, you know, all of the industry knowledge of where they're at. You know, so we're putting a ton of disability on her because if she's not there, the business will suffer. You know, they need overhead expense, they need key person disability, as well as her personal disability. Being sure that you have, you know, enough liability and commercial insurance, because that's something else I didn't bring up, but basically, you know, having enough, if you're in a risky industry where you could be sued, you definitely need to have enough liability and commercial insurance. Then you look to what are the tactical things that I need to take care of. That's the diversification, the owner dependence, taking care of your key people, debt, financials, making sure you're not paying too much in taxes. What is the turnover of your employee base? Those are all things that you need to deal with. Other than those immediate things, you know, those are things that are probably happening in your business right now that you can correct. Then you take a look at more of the strategic things that you need to be doing. This is where we look at the 4 C's. And that's what kind of capital. The 4 C's are the capitals. It's human capital. And I'm sorry, that's in white on pale. You probably can't see it very well. I just realized that. I need to change that color. But it's human capital. It's your customer capital, your structural capital, and your social capital. And the funny thing is everybody, okay, focuses on making sure that they're increasing their EBITDA. But if you focus on those 4 C's and making sure that, you know, from a human capital, your employee base, everything is working smoothly. From the customer capital, you are not customer dependent on 1 or 2 large customers. From the structural, how is your business actually structured? Is it optimal? As well as the social capital, which is what is the culture in your company? What are you building? Do people flock there to work with you because of, you know, the values, the integrity, everything they see from the inside out? How you treat your employees? How engaged are the employees? You know, all of those kind of things. And what we find is when we were talking about multiples before, is that having those 4 C's, those 4 capitals, you know, very strong, very structured, that really raises the value of your business and makes the attractiveness of your business that much higher. So strategically, you really want to increase the value of your business by focusing on these 4 C's. And then finally, you know, in terms of priorities, at the top are the things that you can over time be defining what your 3rd act is, be building the personal financial plan and your estate plans, all of those things that, you know, can be a little further out, but aren't as focused back on the business itself. Now, what I've got outside of here is, okay, who are you going to be involving in here? Who's your team? Because you need a team of advisors to help do all this stuff, not just your management team. So all of the different advisors that you need along the way are on the outside and even on the personal side, Because some people, some business owners we found who've really identified themselves with their customer, with their business at the end of life, you know, need a lot of help disassociating from their business. So they might need, you know, maybe a therapist or a psychologist. But along the way, a lot of people that are really good business owners will have business coaches and life coaches. They can really help you in a lot of, you know, getting you through a lot of this as well. So with that, I think I'm at the end of my time, and do we have time for Q&A still?
Okay, so time for Q&A.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
time for that.
So I'd love to open it up to anybody who has questions, comments, a story to tell.
One second. Well, while you do that, I was business advisor for years, and I remember I had an 85-year-old client who never thought about exit planning. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are, everybody really needs to be thinking about this.
Yes, they do. And the thing is, when you're prepared for something is when the opportunities will come to you.
Right.
So, you know, it just, like I said, this is just good business planning, you know, on top of exit planning. So,
Yeah, so the way we're gonna do it is we'll take a question online and then we'll do a question in person. And so Kimberly, do you have a question?
Yes, we do have a question. And it has to do with when you make a product, and if something should happen to you, and you are the person in your company, you know, a small company that only has 2 or 3 employees, and you're the person that makes the product, and something should happen to you. Should you have a file that basically has a standard operating procedure for making that product? Or should you have in that file how to pause the company? This was basically a very specific situation where the owner had an accident and can physically can't make the product for an indefinite amount of time.
yeah, that's a good question. And it depends on the complexity of the product. If they can groom someone in the company to learn how to actually produce that product to be backup, that would probably be optimal. Definitely, you know, and this goes for any company, you always want to have everything documented. Everything needs to have a standard operating procedure. So I definitely agree. You need to have the standard operating procedure. You need to also, because just reading something may not be enough, you also need to take some time to be grooming someone in your company to take over the actual production of that product as a backup to you as well. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I think it did.
Okay, back here, go ahead.
You mentioned if, I know there's social workers and other PLLCs in here. My husband, I'm also a woman-owned business. My husband is clearly not a woman or an occupational therapist. What is the plan? What are the options if you have a PLLC, a licensed company?
Yeah, so that's where you need to start working on from a planning standpoint. If you plan for that business to continue as an entity, then you need to start planning for bringing somebody in to take over that business that isn't your husband. Because unless he wants to get licensed, you know, he won't be able to run it.
But can he sell it? Or can he dissolve it?
He can.
Okay.
Those are other options. Yes, definitely. But like I said, if you want to continue that company as an entity, you know, now can he sell it immediately? Only you know that probably where you're at. unless you have someone lined up, it might need to continue to run while, he's looking for a buyer. Is there somebody else in your company that can elevate up to run it instead of him? While that's going on, that's why things like that are very important. That's why also as women-owned businesses, I don't know if any of you are WBEs or WBOs or something like that, but you have to consider it's really, you can't just pass that business on to a male because you'll lose your WBE certification as well. So those are all considerations as well.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Yes. The next question is, you mentioned the 4 C's. Can you clarify what those are?
Yes, so that's your human capital, your structural capital, and I always forget one, even though there's
Customer and social.
yeah, your customer capital and your social capital. And the social capital you can liken to the culture of your company, your culture capital.
Yeah, awesome. All right.
Can you- I think we missed one of them, missed being able to hear one of them. Human, structural, social, and
Customer.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Okay.
I just wanted to ask, I guess similar to her, because I'm more in a service provider role as a therapist. And so being able to hand that off as well, like what would that look like? Because I know one of the things that I've been working on is trying to make sure I have a backup, because I can't just leave my patients out there, making sure that they're taken care of, even in the event, like I had a baby. So I had to have a backup plan, somebody to come in and take over those patients, even though I'm independent. But I had to find someone that was licensed to be able to do that.
Right. So when it comes to transitioning your business, it's the same thing. It's finding someone who is licensed, who wants to buy your business, who wants to buy, and the more value, the better your customer database is, the more valuable your business is going to be. So the more you document all of that and the relationships and everything else, the more valuable your business is going to be. But it's, basically those same contingency plans that you had for if you're just out are how you want to approach your exit planning too. Thank you. You're welcome.
Would it be helpful for them to have someone in the same industry back and forth? Hey, if something happens to me, and identify that person already, and if something happened to them, then you could.
Yeah, and so like when I was talking about the one-way buy-sell, where you have an agreement, but it's somebody outside of your company, that's where that planning is going to be really critical in terms of you want some assurances that if I'm exiting my business, you're going to buy it, kind of thing too. So one way or shape or form, involuntary or voluntary.
Thank you. Kimberly, another question? Do we have another question, Kimberly? We'll go ahead and take one in here.
Actually, I think the question is this something that you need to file with a lawyer or an financial advisor, or is just having a personal file that is saved along with your processes and operation procedures? So I think the question is this something that you need to make sure you have filed with your lawyer so that if something should happen to you, there's proof of your decision?
Yes, definitely. A buy-sell agreement is a legal document that you do file with your business attorney. And they will have a copy, you keep a copy in your personal files. And we as financial advisors with our business clients, we always like to have a copy in our files, because we review it from the standpoint of, if any of those triggers happens, how are you going to pay for what happens? So that's where we help out. And, if you're doing this with an outside, if it's a one-way buy sell with an outside person, they need to have a copy of it as well, because they're a part of that agreement.
They asked if you could repeat the name of the document that you would have to have, the buy-sell.
The buy-sell agreement, and I'm talking about a one-way, if you're a single solopreneur, it's a one-way buy-sell agreement.
Awesome. All right, we'll take one last question here. Yes, ma'am. So we're all excited about the women-owned business certification, but can you talk about any disadvantages to getting that certification? As far as bringing on investors and the future of the company? Is it a liability in any way to, to have that certification?
No, actually, I think it's mostly that I've seen it helps in terms of them seeing the value of their business. If you've got a lot of, now this is within a certain realm, if you're bringing in investors that are going to be majority owners, then it can be a liability, because it has to be 51% women owned. If they're coming in and they want a majority, that's an issue. But if they're 49% or less, that's not an issue. And usually it's seen as this is something that can help, from the standpoint of there's so many more contracts and opportunities out there for actually certified WBEs and WBOs.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. We appreciate that very much. So I'll let Tracy.
Well, thank you. First of all, we appreciate you, and that was
thank you.
wonderful. Some goodies from us. She also had some books.
We'll do that after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead. Kimberly, I'm going to make you the host. I'm going to stop record. Oh, you have to stop recording. And we're going to go ahead and leave, and then you can close out that, and I'll close out here. All right.